In today's video, we're taking a look at the latest trade talk around the league. We're looking at teams like the Colorado Avalanche, Columbus Blue Jackets, as well as the Philadelphia Flyers, plus the Toronto Maple Leafs. Should they consider, and will they consider, a goalie trade? Is there a goalie controversy brewing in the Maple Leafs organization? We'll take a look at that and how it might affect them positively and negatively down the rest of the year. Plus, we have other updates from around the NHL, including an update on Raanta on waivers, a potential return date for Freddie Andersen, and some other injury updates from around the NHL. All that coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a lot to cover here today. We're going to get into some interesting trade rumors in just a few minutes' time. But first, we have some other quick updates from around the NHL. News from the NHL waiver wire. Veteran goaltender of the Carolina Hurricanes, Antti Raanta, was on waivers, and he did in fact clear. Nobody picked him up, which is not a huge surprise because he has struggled mightily this season. In 14 games, he's got a save percentage well under 860, allowing 3, 4, or more goals a game. Doesn't have a great record. The Hurricanes are lower in the standings than they're hoping, and really probably should be. He's not the only reason for that, mind you, but certainly a part of the issue. So he's going to be reassigned to the American Hockey League and the Chicago Wolves organization. So that's quite something for the veteran goaltender. Probably never thought he'd be going down there. This season, he along with Freddie Andersen have been the duo in Carolina for some time, and now for the first time in a while, neither guy is going to be there for an extended time. Andersen's been out dealing with a blood clot issue. There has been some hopeful, positive updates on Freddie's condition and potential return, although it's a little bit early to kind of get too excited just yet if you're a Canes fan. But there is some hope that Freddie Andersen is going to be able to resume skating and hopefully return in about a month or so. So you're probably looking at late January, but that is a ways off. It's a little bit premature to say that's a for sure deal, but that's kind of the optimism around the Hurricanes organization for the time being. So obviously they're going to be running with a young goalie tandem for the short term. They could very well be in on the goalie trade market because of a lot of what we're talking about today for potential trades we might see. Not all, but a good chunk of it is around goaltending. We know there's a number of veteran goalies out there that are likely available for trades right now, and Hurricanes very well could be in on that. We'll have to wait and see. They had been linked previously to Jake Allen of Montreal and a few others around the league that are veteran guys near the end of their contract. So we'll see where things go. They may choose to try to ride things out, give Kochetkov a chance to run with the starting position, and hope that Andersen can return in a month. Then they might be able to be okay. We'll see, but they definitely need to play better. And if they don't get consistent goaltending and they get subpar play these next 4 weeks, if Andersen can return, then could be a big make or break part of their season. Time will tell, and we'll have to wait and see. More goaltending updates in New Jersey. This one's a short-term deal, though, but Vitek Vanacek is out today because of the illness. So the Devils had to recall goalie Nico Dawes. In Ottawa, they had a couple of injuries in their last game. So for tonight, Rourke Chartier and Matthew Joseph both out due to injury. They recalled Yuri Schmeichel, who made his NHL debut a couple weeks back, and Angus Crookshank, who was a later round pick and leading the American Hockey League team in scoring, will make his NHL debut tonight as they go into Vegas to play Mark Stone and the Vegas Golden Knights. The Calgary Flames activated goaltender Jacob Markstrom from injured reserve today. So that also means that they've had to send down Dustin Wolf back to the American Hockey League. So that's certainly not the end of the line for Wolf. He'll be back sometime soon, but Markstrom's ready to roll, so he'll obviously be able to play here in the short term. In Los Angeles, goaltender Phoenix Copley has been moved from IR to LTIR, so he will be out a little bit longer term. So the Kings are another team that I know Elliot Friedman on the Saturday Headline segment last night speculated could also be in the goalie market. They do have David Riddick as their number 3, who's been in the minors, who they can certainly have come up and replace Copley, which he likely will have to do on a short-term basis. But where it's going to be a longer-term injury to Copley, will they want to stick with that, or will they want to go with somebody they feel is a little bit more able to handle the responsibility of playing a little more frequently so that Talbot doesn't have to play, so much. I mean, Talbot's been really good for them, but at his age, you probably don't want to overplay him to get him too tired later in the season. You need a backup goalie who can play more of a tandem style with him if you really preferably. And, they may not have the confidence to Riddick's that guy. If they don't, then don't be shocked if you see the Kings possibly make a move. Now, speaking of goalie trades, we could see one out of Columbus. They're another team that's got suddenly an extra goaltender on their roster. Obviously, they've got Elvis Merzlikins, and they had Spencer Martin, who they picked up on waivers, who basically replaced Tarasov. Tarasov's back now, and they still have Martin there as well. So all three are on the roster, and it's expected that Spencer Martin, who they picked up on waivers earlier this year, likely will be a player who vacates and likely gets moved. So Columbus is another team to watch for potential trade. Now, I know that there was interest in starter Elvis Merzlikins as well. The Blue Jackets have been a puzzling team to watch this year. The decisions from head coach Pascal Vincent and the management team there have been somewhat mind-boggling. We've seen, for example, youngster and rookie Adam Fantilli, the bright future of that franchise, be anywhere playing center in the top six where he belongs to being a winger on the fourth line. It's so weird, and he can have a good, he went from having a good game playing his normal spot to being a winger on the fourth line. Makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. If they're going to continue to do weird moves like this with Fantilli, you might as well send him to play for Team Canada at the World Junior Championships. But just the puzzling moves. I don't get what's going on with that franchise. Like I said before, I honestly think this team needs a complete fresh start, clean house, front office, behind the bench. I don't know what they're doing. I just really question a lot of their moves and motives there. I don't know what they're doing, but Martin is a player to watch, is one of the most likely moves we could see here in the short term. So whether it be a team like the Devils or the Kings, who are definitely looking for short-term goalie help, Carolina's another team to watch, like I mentioned. Edmonton's another team to watch. I don't know what the Oilers are going to do. Calvin Pickard, who was called up, has been playing well. I mean, they have lost a couple of games after that 8-game winning streak, so time will tell. But I do think, I guess depending on how things continues to go in the minors, will they give Jack Campbell another shot before they make a move? Or if they feel like Calvin Pickard kind of lost his steam, will they go in a new direction? Time will tell, but I think they won enough games there in a row to kind of buy themselves a little bit of patience with that position. So I think they can wait a little bit longer to make sure they make the right decision. Now, apparently there's a lot of teams, especially in the Western Conference, concerned on the Colorado Avalanche. When they seen that move, trading Tomas Tatar to Seattle, it obviously created some concern from other teams that are going to go up against the Avalanche. They know Tatar hadn't really fit and hadn't played the best, and this was more than anything a trade from the Avalanche to get him a chance to play more. And at the same time, it gives them a roster spot and cap flexibility, so it works for everybody. And the more Avalanche flexibility they have, the worse it is for everybody else, because this is widely expected that they're going to try to bulk up here before the trade deadline, which is still a ways away, of course, but they've had their fair share of little injuries. We know Cale Makar has played well, but has not been 100% and has missed some time. I fully suspect that they're going to try to add multiple spots if they can, and that salary that Tatar was making, which was only 1.5, but they can certainly use that towards somebody else to be able to make some other upgrades. Some other names that they are linked to currently, if they want to add at the center position, which is the most widely rumored going around the NHL, is that players like Sean Monahan of Montreal and Morgan Frost in Philadelphia are the names that they're watching. Now, I know the Flyers are doing well as well, but I don't really think Danny Briere is going to, really be not making moves if the right prices are there and the right deals. I've heard enough interviews with him through the different medias that he was on the Jeff Merrick show a few days ago, for example, and he said, listen, we're not delusional. We know what our team is. Yes, we're probably doing better than we might have expected this year, but if the right deal is there and it makes sense for the future of this franchise, we're not going to set the team back. But of course, if they're going to go into the playoffs, which right now they're trending to do, they certainly don't want to, make themselves a worse team if they can help it. But it has to make sense for today and the future. So it really boils down to what the return prices are going to be. And Morgan Frost has not been a player that John Tortorella has used consistently. I'm convinced he's not really a fan of his game, and he would be better served to be in another roster somewhere else. So I think even though they might continue to win, they might continue to do well, I still think Frost is a player they would consider moving, regardless of where they're at in the standings. But there is other rumors around the Flyers being connected to other teams, including the Toronto Maple Leafs, who we're going to talk about further in the goalie situation in a moment. But fourthperiod.com is connected the Leafs to being interested in multiple Flyer defensemen, including Rasmus Ristolainen and Nick Seeler. Now, we know the Leafs have had multiple issues on the blue line. They just got Timothy Liljegren back, but Giordano's out. Liljegren was out for an extended time as well. Klingberg's gone for the year. They could certainly use some reinforcements back there. I mean, the guys they've had, like whether it's Connor Timmins or Lagesson or Benoit, Max Lajoie's played a little bit. Like, the guys filling in have done a decent job. There's no doubt that they've done well considering all the injuries and absences they've had on that back end. Now, I still fully suspect Brad Treliving would not want to go into a playoff series, though, with what they currently have, that they'd want to go in with some reinforcements for sure, especially on the physical, grittier side of things, especially. So, having said that, the Leafs being linked to some of these Flyer defensemen do make sense, but Ristolainen, to me, is a risky move. It's not the first time his name has come up, but he's got multiple years on his contract, over $5 million. He's been a defenseman to me that really hasn't lived up to that contract. I mean, he struggled and was inconsistent in Buffalo. He's in Philly. The Flyers in the beginning seemed to really love this guy, and there's lots to like, but there's also lots to be concerned about. And I see him being risky. I don't know that that's the best move for the Maple Leafs. Seeler to me is a little bit cheaper, a little bit safer. But there's also Sean Walker. And to me, I think the Flyers have been quite happy with a lot of their defensemen. I do think they'd move Ristolainen for the right price, though, especially where it's a longer-term contract. And that's not a contract that was done by the current regime. That's done by, Fletcher made that move. So at the same time, I can see them willing to move him. But Seeler, Walker, I think they're going to be a little more, skeptical. I think they'll consider it. But there has to be an overpayment, has to be a really good return that they just can't pass up. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But I do expect the Leafs to make blue line additions later in the campaign, whatever they're able to do. I'm just not sure that these Flyers guys are the main ones that we'll see that they'll actually end up doing. I just don't know that that's the best move out there. But the fact that they would kick tires and maybe check in, I think that's about as far as it would go in that sense. But the bigger Leaf thing I want to talk about today is the goalie controversy. After the past probably 3 games now, there's certainly a debate on whether or not there's a goalie controversy in Toronto. Now, we've seen the tandem of Samsonov and Wall start with Samsonov given every opportunity to be the starter this year. But then slowly but surely, Joseph Wall took that spot from him. Samsonov missed a little bit of time. Wall had to run with it for a bit. He did fine. He was doing extremely well. He was basically the de facto number 1, and then he got hurt in that game against the Senators. Martin Jones was already called up at that point because Samsonov had been dealing with the flu bug, so he had missed a game or two because of that. Samsonov came in relief of Wall, shut down the Senators the rest of that game to hold the lead, and then he beat the Rangers, and then he shut out the Penguins. So this is 3 consecutive games now that he's come in, and he's looked really calm and steady back there. And I know a lot of the Leaf fans have been commenting about Samsonov and how he just looks like he's swimming out there, and he's all over the place. His structure is not structurally sound. There's just a lot of concern over his game not being where it needs to be. And obviously going into the playoffs especially would be stressful, I think, for a lot of the players and fans especially. So with the way that Joseph Wall has played, obviously he's out injured right now, but when he gets back, he could easily become the starter again. You would think he did it before, he should be able to do it again. If Martin Jones can continue to be that calm veteran presence to play some good games for the Leafs while Wall is injured, would you not think that they might prefer a tandem of Wall and Jones when Wall returns? I mean, could they carry 3 goalies? Sure, but with their cap space and roster situation the way it is, it's far from ideal, and it really prevents them from being able to properly, address the right amount of players in the right positions that they really want. They really need other players to be up, not a third goaltender. So it's not a great move by any means. So with all that said, don't you think it's quite a possibility? I did see an article that made this suggestion earlier, and I thought it made a lot of sense, that when Wall returns, that a Samsonov trade could very well be likely. Think about this. You've got Jones and Wall. Think about how much better their goal. They're making both on cheap salaries here, right? Samsonov's making $3.5 million. If they can find a way to trade Samsonov, they could save a lot of money that they could use for upgrades on the blue line or in the forward group, especially on the blue line, which is the main area they want to add. Samsonov is on, now he's not playing well, sure, but he's also on an expiring contract. You could probably figure something out. I'm not sure where he goes, but if you could trade Samsonov, I think it's something they need to seriously consider doing. I think they would be more confident going into the playoffs with a Wall-Jones tandem. Now, the only problem is you kind of want to, the whole reason Jones is there is to be that veteran number 3 guy in case of injury you can turn to. Now, the more Jones plays, maybe we'll see a little more of the old issues kind of creep back into his game. We don't know. But it's tempting, I tell you, for the Maple Leafs to consider this. Like I said, they can move on from Samsonov, who to be completely honest, I don't think they're bringing him back after this year anyway. So they can hopefully get some sort of asset in return or incorporate him into another trade to bring something back. And then from there, hopefully they can make the other upgrades they're looking to do on the blue line or the bottom 6 of their forward group. It makes too much sense to run with Wall and Jones at this point, but we have time to see if this is a for sure strategy that makes a lot of sense, given that Jones has only played 3 games. Mind you, like I said, he played, finished the game against the Senators, didn't allow any goals. He beat the Rangers. He beat the Penguins. Like, he's been phenomenal. He's been really good. And he just looks really calm and at ease back there, where Samsonov is all over the place. And I think it gives the team a different feel. Teams play differently in front of their goalies when the goalie gives them that confidence and that calmness that they can just play their game and not have to worry that if they screw up and they make a mistake, the goalie actually has a chance to bail them out instead of it's probably going in. So let me know your thoughts. Is there a goalie controversy brewing with the Leafs? Should they really seriously consider a Samsonov trade? The goalie market is about to heat up and the carousel is about to get going with a lot of different goalies changing teams, I think, in the next couple of months. The holiday trade freeze is coming up here in a few days' time as well. So whatever, we could see a little small flurry of activity before that. Otherwise, it likely won't be until January before we see much more movement, which is common anyway. So let me know your thoughts on all that and everything else discussed today. And down in the comments, we'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.